I'm back today. I'll be discussing with you the trending situation in the country at the moment. Um, at the National Assembly, as the Senate to be precise, they deliberated yesterday concerning the insecurity. You know that back then, when they captured some, terrorists, they were rehabilitated and rejigged into the society. So the deliberation by the Senate was quite exciting. Quite interesting because they deliberated at length. So they talked about the what was it called? I don't know how to put this. That according to Governor Shomale actually said it's not really wise and for real. Because how can you rehabilitate a terrorist that have killed, burned people's house, chased people away from the ancestral home, and you capture them, reintegrate them, and deploy them into various forces. Police, someone goes to police, some into army, it's bad. How can you, as in, bring in a terrorist? You are bringing them back into the society. What do you expect? And we are putting them back into the force. Do you think security will go just like that? It's never going to go. The insecurity will continue because those people you injected into the forces and into the society, they still have their guys out there. Informations will be given to them. They'll pass any information that that could harm, that information that could harm them. They'll disseminate the information to their colleagues over there. Come on, look what their plans, look at the steps they are taking, look at the routes that you're going to take. You see? So it's not proper. And I like the deliberation there. So they've decided that henceforth, such will not happen. They'll never allow reintegration of any criminals, bandits or terrorists into society. So the necessary things should be done, and it has to be done. That is that. I also discuss about South Africa because the issue is actually on ground, and they talked about the Senate as well discussed at length concerning the investment of South Africa in Nigeria. So their plans now is to actually the profits that those investments in Nigeria here, since South Africa have refused, they've decided that they will not compensate Nigerians for the losses they incurred in their country. The houses, the bonds, the investment of Nigerians that was destroyed, their properties which were destroyed by the South Africans as a result of this xenophobic madness which they are purporting on that side. So it's a good one, I like that. But they know better, they know what to do. If the South Africa refuses, because let me say like MTN is really, really making a huge, though I won't say it's not only MTN, all South Africans are investment in Nigeria, they are really making a serious, money. Like last year, South Africa MTN was able to pull as much profit as $1 billion. It's a huge money, huge sum. And you can see that if Nigerians seize such amount of money, plus other investment, South Africa's investment that they have in Nigeria here, billions of dollars, I think their brain will reset. They reset their brain. Yes, I think that's a good one. My is that at least they shouldn't disrupt their businesses in those, investments in those companies of South Africans here in Nigeria, because Nigerians are working in MTN and other South African companies here in Nigeria. So if they try to chase them away, anything can happen. So it can affect Nigeria, citizens who are working there. So it's a good one. Let the profits be taken to settle the ones that the South Africans have, destroyed, the ones that are back into Nigeria. And as well, I heard that some are still there in South Africa. They are not yet back. So I urge our government to make it, as much as possible, facilitate, their activity, whatever it takes, to ensure that those people are back in Nigeria. Because that place is not really a place for them to stay at the moment. So at this juncture, I would like to you people to watch all the conversations from our Nigerian National Assembly, and also some other discussions from other analysis, from other analysts too. So just watch.
A man named Adams Oshomole, he's a senator now. He used to be governor of Edo State, stood up, and according to reports from the Senate floor, he named names: MTN, the bank Stanbic IBTC, even MultiChoice, the company behind DSTV. He proposed that Nigeria should seize their profits, and that's billions of US dollars, and pay Nigerians with South African money instead of Nigerian taxpayer money.
To those Nigerians whose properties were looted, shop burnt, and even life taken, by the government of Nigeria, reciprocate by appropriating the profit accruing from South Africa shares in all South Africa companies in Nigeria, including their banks, IBCT, that the money be seized are used to pay Nigerians.
A few hours later, the Senate voted his plan down. For now, choosing investigation over retaliation. Here is the thing: Nigeria has done this dance before. In 2019, after a similar wave of attacks, Nigeria recalled its ambassador and boycotted the World Economic Forum. In Cape Town, calls to boycott MTN spread across Nigeria's social media. The financial hit back then was small, but right now, the pressure is building on a bigger stage. Ghana is pushing these straight into the African Union's agenda. Evacuations are already draining migrant labor and money out of South Africa's economy. That's the backlash already happening quietly, while everyone's still stuck talking about one bad quote. So, case closed, right? Wrong. You can vote down a policy. You can't unsay a number. MTN made $12.7 billion, and Nigeria and Ghana made over 90% of that profit. And it's not small money either. MTN poured over $1 billion into the Nigerian market last year, more than double what they spend inside South Africa, their own home country. So Nigeria isn't some side market for MTN anymore. At this point, basically, Nigeria is MTN. Which means when a senator says, touch their profit, he isn't bluffing. He's pointing straight at the one artery keeping South Africa's biggest company alive. Ghana noticed too. President Ramaphosa had a state visit planned to Accra, and Ghana asked him to push it back over the xenophobia and the unaliving of a Ghanaian citizen. South Africa's president says a little right, but every headline that week read, Ghana rejects Ramaphosa. And by the time anyone could, here is the actual mistake in all of this. It was never really about the insults. Insults fade out of headlines in about a week. The real damage is that South Africa's own government just proved out loud exactly how much leverage Nigeria is sitting on. Using South Africa's own numbers, nobody leaked any of that. It was sitting in a public earnings report the whole time. A senator just stood up and read it out loud on the floor for the whole country to hear. And from experience, an idea like that doesn't just disappear because one vote failed. It waits for the next attack, the next careless quote from the next minister. Next time, that number won't surprise anyone. In that room, it will be this.
The Senate further notes with grave concern the growing pattern of abductions, killings and violent attacks against serving and retired military personnel across the country.
We are walking the streets as walking cops because anything can happen to anybody. There is an urgent need for the leadership of this Senate to meet with Mr. President and re-emphasize the concern of Nigerians. Otherwise, quite frankly, it's becoming in an election year. Anything can happen to anybody.
To stop rehabilitation of Boko Haram.
Yes, it does not make evil common sense to grant pardon and rehabilitate and reintegrate criminals.
On what you think about this whole situation about Africa, our country Nigeria, about insecurity and as well as what South Africa are doing. So let me have a comment. And if this is your first time, please subscribe, like, press the notification button for more information. Thank you.